Hello there my friends, and welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to be looking at feeding your shrimp. We're going to be taking a delve into what you should be feeding your shrimp, how often you should feed your shrimp, and of course how much you should feed your shrimp. So in this video we're going to be looking at neocaridina, caridina shrimp, also amano shrimp, because they all have similar kinds of needs. In a lot of cases, if you only have a couple of shrimp in your aquarium, you'll probably not need to feed them at all. The reason for this is because these shrimps are all actually biofilm eaters, and a biofilm is essentially all of the bacteria and algae that grow over every surface of an aquarium. So that's the reason these rocks are all green, and certainly the reason your glass goes green, and that is due to biofilm. So what happens is you get a build-up of bacteria growing over it, and that's kind of the first colony, and over that you get different types of algae, microflora and microfauna, and basically most of these shrimps will just go about their day picking off little bits of that, and that's kind of their main diet. And this reliance on biofilm is kind of the reason why you don't put shrimp into a non-mature aquarium, because essentially they won't have anything to graze on. So knowing that these shrimp are generally biofilm feeders, why do we need to actually supplement their diet then? The reason for this is shrimp breed quite easily, and you may get to a point, or you may already be at a point, where the available biofilm isn't replenishing fast enough to actually keep up with the number of shrimp that you have in your aquarium. And this means that there's a shortage of food for your shrimp. But it generally means that you won't reach population shrimp above what the biofilm availability is in your aquarium. So this can be a limiting factor should you want to be breeding your shrimp. Obviously you won't be very successful without the right amount of food. What should you be feeding your shrimp on? There's lots of food on the market for fish and for shrimps, and you might just assume that normal fish food is good enough for your shrimps. In a lot of cases this is actually true. However, there are some things that you need to take into consideration, especially if your fish tanks are generally just for the shrimp. A big factor in determining what food you're going to give your shrimp is actually to do with water quality. A lot of the general and cheaper aquarium fish foods aren't actually that good. One of the problems with these general fish foods, that includes flakes and a lot of the pellets, is that they're quite low quality, have a lot of ash content, but also they break up really quickly in the aquarium. And this is not a good thing for water quality, especially in shrimp tanks, because every bit of fish food that doesn't get eaten by your shrimps is going to end up in the water column and negatively impact your water quality by increasing nitrates. Possibly you'll get ammonia spikes and things like this. So it's not something we really want to encourage. There's a lot of specifically made shrimp pellets available for shrimp, and it's best to stick to these kind of foods because they'll have the right levels of spirulina and protein for your shrimp. I wouldn't recommend feeding them any kind of flake food, although if you're getting flake food to your shrimp via feeding your fish, then that's fine, but specifically targeting shrimp with flake food isn't the best idea, purely because flake food will just break up and enter your water column. A really good food that you can give to shrimp as a supplementary part of their diet are veggies. So things like spinach, pumpkin, courgette, cucumber, all sorts of nice vegetarian foods will go down well with your shrimp. Of course, it's really important to be wary of where you get them from, because any pesticides on these vegetables are going to go into your water column, and shrimps are very, very sensitive to that kind of thing. One thing to look out for on your shrimp is that if you haven't had very many eggs on your females, it may be a dietary issue. To create eggs, female shrimp need a little bit more protein than they would normally, and if they're not burying up and you have a good ratio of males to females, it may just be the fact that there isn't enough protein in their diet, and a little bit of supplementary feeding with a high protein fish pellet will do the trick. When it comes to producing as much biofilm for your shrimp as possible, I recommend floating plants as an essential piece of aquarium kit. The reason being is they have so much surface area compared to everything else in your aquarium. The underside of the leaves will be covered in biofilm, as will the roots. So a lot of floating plants can actually support quite a large population of shrimp without any supplemental feeding necessary. Another reason to add floating plants to your shrimp tank is actually they offer a really good home for your shrimplets. your little baby shrimp will just attach themselves to the underside of these leaves and have plenty of food to graze on and get bigger. Another thing you might want to do in your shrimp tank is just not clean as much. The thing that these shrimps are eating is actually what most people would consider to be the pests of the aquarium, so the algae and the biofilms and the things that make your aquarium look a little bit manky. That's the kind of stuff they're actually eating. So don't go too crazy on cleaning your aquarium, and that will increase the amount of food available for the shrimps. Feeding shrimp, just the general act of feeding them, isn't particularly hard. I mean, in essence, all you really need to do is put the food into the tank. However, if you just do that, it's quite difficult to then judge how much your shrimp are eating, and also it's difficult to remove any leftover food after they finish their meal. So the best thing to do is get a little lid like this, or you can buy very fancy glass or acrylic feeding trays for shrimp, but you don't need that. Even this little jam jar lid is perfectly fine. Today these shrimp aren't hungry because they've left the food, and now I know they're not very hungry. All you have to do is remove the lid and the food will come with it. And that brings me on very nicely to how much food should you actually give your shrimp. Well, if you don't have that many shrimp, let's say less than 10, then you probably won't need to feed them all that much, because there should be enough biofilm in a mature aquarium. Even a little 30-litre aquarium like this has enough biofilm to support around 10 shrimp. But like I said, if you're breeding them and you want them to reproduce and grow your population, then you should probably be feeding your shrimp every day or every other day. You can judge it really, because if you put the shrimp food in, if your shrimps are swarming the food, basically that means that they're hungry and there's not enough biofilm. If like this, where they're not really interested, then you know they're not very hungry and then there's enough biofilm in there to support them. The best thing to do with shrimp is to feed as little as possible, and this means the water quality will stay good, because that's the most important thing when it comes to keeping shrimp alive. I recommend that you leave the shrimp food in the aquarium for no more than an hour, and anything not eaten just remove completely. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been useful in learning about feeding shrimp. If you did like this video, please remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button, because then you'll get to see all of my new videos that I release. Also, if you liked it, please hit the like button, because it really helps the video get shared on YouTube. So once again, thank you for watching and happy fish keeping!